Dear beloved Thầy, dear beloved community, con kính bạch sư ông, con kính thưa quý thầy, quý sư cô, con xin phép quý thầy và quý sư cô cho con chia sẻ. Con xin phép quý thầy và quý sư cô cho con chia sẻ với các bạn trẻ. So I ask permission from my elder brothers and sisters to share with you, wonderful young people who are here. It makes me very happy to see you here. And Thầy, our teacher, is smiling. He knows you're here. He established this place so that you can be here. And so that even now, He's not with us in His physical body. His love is here. And that's why we have a place of refuge to come to. I came here in January 2000. Very much like many of you, for the first time, I came to Plum Village. I came with a broken heart. My partner just died in an accident only 3 months before that, in September 1999, just one day before my birthday. And I just finished my medical training, started to be a young doctor. But his death really, it broke me apart, but it also woke me up to the state of my life. And of the different choices that I had, I wanted peace. And so I left medicine. I left San Francisco and I came here seeking peace. That was 22 years ago. And in 2004, I went with Thầy to the US and I stayed there until then. And I've been back only once, in 2008, only for 3 weeks. So this time, I come back. When I first arrived in New Hamlet, I went to the meditation hall to touch the earth before the Buddha and our beloved teacher, Thầy. We have an altar of our teacher here. I hope that you will also touch the earth before his altar, or just sit in front of his altar and touch and be in touch with his love and his beauty. So when I touched the earth before the altar, many memories arose. Many memories that I had thought of over the last 22 years, but also many memories that I didn't think about for such a long time, and they all came back. And one of those memories was, I think it was one of the first retreats that I attended, and I made many friends. I was staying in the Lower Hamlet, and it was the end of the retreat, so I went to the parking lot to say goodbye to those friends. And one by one they drove away. And I just stood there, and at some point I was all alone in the parking lot, in a vacant parking lot. And I just burst out crying. In my life, I had left so many situations. If I wasn't happy in a relationship, I would just leave. When I wasn't feeling so great, I'll get in the car and I would drive away. Or I would actually fly away to another country, to another continent. But that was the first time I realized that I was left behind. People were driving away and I was left behind. But it was also the first time I made a conscious decision not to leave anymore, not to run away anymore. Because what I thought was my freedom to go wherever I wanted to go, to leave whenever I wanted to leave, it was not truly a freedom. It was just a habit of running away. It was something inside pushing me to run, to fight, to freeze. It was not at all freedom. So I've learned, I've been training myself not to run anymore since that day. So when I was asked by the organizers to share about true love, my first thought was that, what do I know about love? I'm a fool. What do I know about love? Because my partner used to say that. What do I know? I'm a fool. I know nothing. So, he's still with me. And at the same time, I've learned that the first act of true love is to stop running away, and to look at ourselves and to learn what is there to learn. And that's meditation, really. Meditation is a bird with two wings, stopping, deep looking, stopping from running physically, mentally, psychologically. You stop running. So that you can look deeply into what is, what was, what will be. Yeah. Stopping and deep looking. And they come really, they go in tandem. They go together. The moment that you practice stopping, you see more clearly. It's just like if you're on the back of a horse, galloping through a museum, how much can you see? How much can you experience? But when you get down from the back of a horse and stand in front of it, the longer you stand in front of a painting, the more you learn about it, right? So for you to be here is already revolutionary. It's already awesome, okay? Because you are here. Something inside of you wishes to stop. Stop fighting. Stop running away. Stop being frozen inside. That's why you're here. something deep inside of you has chosen it for you. Of all the places that you can be right now, you're here. The Buddha taught about the 4 immeasurable minds of love. And our teacher added 2 more elements. So today I'm going to go over with you about these 6 elements of true love. Let us enjoy one sound of the bell. You know, the breath helps us to come back to ourselves. The breath helps us to stop running. If you actually pay attention to your breath as you breathe in, bring your mind to the in-breath. Befriend your in-breath. Feel it flowing in through your nostrils, through your mouth. Feel it flowing in through the rise of your chest or the rise of your abdomen. And as you breathe out, befriend your out-breath. Recognize it as it is, whether it's long or short, easy or laborious, quiet or loud. You can also feel your out-breath with the fall of your chest cage, the fall of your abdomen. In-breath, out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. Hello, my dear, I know you're there. You're still alive, you're still breathing. So in stopping, deep looking takes place naturally. And we are aware of what we still have, of what we can do, what we can say, and what we should not do, what we should not say. You see? It sounds very simple, but it's not that easy to bring the mind back to the breath, because the mind likes to wander. Right? There's a Chinese character that I appreciate a lot. This is a Chinese character for breath. Tức. The uppercase is tự. It means from, and it also means itself. And the lowercase is heart or mind. This is the breath. The breath is from the heart, the mind. The breath is the heart, the mind itself. Yesterday, my brother talked about this. When you are angry, you breathe differently. Your breathing pattern is different, right? When you're sad, you breathe differently. When you're anxious, you breathe differently. When you're sick, you breathe differently. And when you are dying, there is a certain breathing pattern that the doctors can listen to and know the time is closing. So to get to know our breath is to get to know ourselves, to get to know our heart, to get to know our mind. Yeah? No one can know us this intimately. The intimacy that we seek, that we thirst for, that we crave for, is not outside. It's in every part of our body. Everything about us tells us about us. So when we learn to come back to the breath, just like we learn to come back to the steps, your steps sound differently when you are angry. Your steps sound and feel differently when you're sad, when you're insecure, when you're stable. They're different. Everything about our body tells us about ourselves. And when we practice the two wings of meditation, stopping and deep looking, we learn true love is there. And the first element of true love that the Buddha talked about was upeksha, non-discrimination, inclusiveness. I use this teaching about interbeing because it's equivalent and it's encompassing of non-discrimination and equanimity. You've seen the yin-yang being, right? So there's two sides. Half of the circle is black and it has a white dot, and the other half is white and it has a black dot. There's actually a yin-yang bean. I forgot to bring it with me. It's tiny like this. It looks just like that, okay? In the black, there is the white. And in the white, there is the black. That's the teaching on interbeing, okay? In this, there is that. In that, there is this. Like the example of the flower that my brother talked about yesterday. In the orchid, there's sunshine, there's water, there's the gardener, there's the whole cosmos in that. So when we learn about interbeing, we will see that our love is not individual. It's not because my partner died that he is gone. You see, that we are in each other. I am today who I am because of him. I am who I am today because of our beloved teacher. Because of this community. Because of so many innumerable conditions that make me today, that make you who you are today. I am because you are, because of the choices that they made since he was young. Throughout his life, he made many choices. And because of those choices, that we are here today. And the choices that our ancestors, our parents, made. That's why we are here today. See? That is the wisdom of interbeing. That is the foundation for true love. Love is not an individual matter. Love is not something that happens on an impulse. Today I love you, tomorrow I hate you. I love you because you love me back. Yeah? It's not like that. It's not so simple, and it's not that short-lived, really. But we affect one another for a long time, for the rest of our lives. And so in that way, we learn also, we use this being, I call it interbeing, and the deep teaching of interbeing, to also know that everything that we experience in life is not lost. It's all stored here in the store consciousness. Many of you, or some of you, may have seen this drawing that our teacher often used to teach about Buddhist psychology. We have the mind consciousness and we have the store consciousness. You see? And in this store consciousness, whatever that we experience, we bring in our store consciousness with our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, our body, our thoughts, our feelings. All of that is deposited into the store consciousness, and nothing is ever lost. Just like when I touched the earth before the altar, just 4 days ago when I arrived. So many memories became enlivened in me. It was amazing. I hadn't thought of many of those experiences for a long time, but they all became alive to me. You know that, right? Everything is here. And when we learn that, we become very mindful of our consumption. What we bring into our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, through the touch of our body, the touch of another person's body, yeah? Our thoughts, our feelings, we become very careful, attentive, selective. And that's love. Love is not something impulsive. It's not something reckless. Because we know nothing is ever lost. That the body keeps the score. The mind keeps the score. Okay? We are who we are today because of all the experiences that our ancestors have gone through. All the experiences that we have gone through. Because whatever that comes in here, the input will become the output. You see? In the black, there is the white. In the white, there is the black. Input will become output, and the output will influence the input. They are like that. The second element of true love, we use the word love a lot. I love pizza, I love hot dogs, I love my cat, we love everything. What do we know about love? Yes. The second element of true love the Buddha taught about is karuna. It's been translated as compassion. Okay? The literal meaning of karuna means to alleviate suffering. And I'd like to translate that as healing. In true love, there must be healing for ourselves and for others, just like Thầy went through the Vietnam War. That atrocious war brought a lot of suffering that Thầy witnessed. And he left Vietnam to call for peace and to seek healing in himself. And because of that healing that he experienced, that he cultivated in himself, he was able to share with others so that you can also experience healing as well. You see? So, if you love, or if you feel somebody loves you, and you are wounded each day, you feel insecure, you feel hurt, is that true love? You can ask yourself. Then it's not true love. In true love, there must be healing. In true love, we realize, true to the spirit of interbeing, the healer, the healed, and the healing process are in each other. It's not like you go to see a doctor, the doctor gives you a prescription, you take the medication, and you have nothing to do with the doctor. It's not like that. And it's true. I used to work in the emergency room. Patients would come in, my mind was so scattered. I was asking a question to a patient, and the person was answering the question, but I was already thinking about the 3 patients in the next rooms. And so I didn't hear the answer. And then I asked that question again the second time and the third time. And finally, the patient would say, "Doctor, I already told you." So the healer and the healed actually affect each other very much, right? If you are not there, you have not done anything good for the other person, but you already hurt the other person's confidence and trust in you. The person already feels neglected, misunderstood, or unacknowledged. See? So really, we are that interconnected in our daily interaction, whatever that is. And also we learn that exactly like that, when we learn to heal our relationships with ourselves, we also help to heal the relationships that we have with others. So the self and the other are not separate. Again, true to the teaching, to the wisdom of interbeing. Whatever that we do to ourselves, we are doing to others, and vice versa. I remember, that's another memory that's very intense for me. When I was a nun in my first year, one day I was standing in the field in the lower hamlet, and I was crying so hard. At one moment I was screaming, and I was just literally out of my mind. And I recognized in that instant I was about to cross the threshold of sanity to insanity. I could just have crossed it right there and then it wouldn't matter anymore. I could just cry whenever I felt like. I could just scream whenever. So the kind of socialization, the kind of etiquette, social etiquettes would not matter anymore. I saw it like that. And I just took in the deepest breath of my life. And I just knelt down. I dropped down on my knees and I started to pray. I pray I would never suffer like this again. I never wanted to go through that again. Because when my partner died, it was not just his death that broke me, but all the trauma and abuse that I had experienced in my childhood, in my young life, just all came back and broke me apart. So when you experience one thing, one event, all the events came back through affinity, through association. In this store consciousness, everything is there, undercurrent. As we go through the day, as we walk like zombie, as we are lost in the screen, as we are always preoccupying our mind, the store consciousness is constantly at work. And all these undercurrents that affect us to our unawareness. And then somebody said something and suddenly you just lost it. Something happens and you just, you become out of control and you wonder why. It's because we're not aware. And to practice mindfulness is to become aware, to know what's going on. First of all, it's in our body, the way we breathe, the way we walk, the sounds of our steps, the sound of our breathing, the sounds of our body, so that we are aware. You see, when I drop down on my knees in that field, I just pray. I never wanted to live a life of forgetfulness. I never wanted to suffer so much just because I didn't know how to care for myself, how to care for my love. Let us breathe together. Okay? Breathe and smile. I have learned to smile as I am crying, to follow my breathing as tears rolling down my cheeks. I have learned to be there for my tears, to befriend my thoughts and feelings, and to have equanimity towards them as well. It is a smile of non-fear, my dear. We learn not to be swept away by anything, including our own thoughts and emotions. We can breathe and smile whatever that is arising from within or from without. We learn also through interbeing that the victim and the perpetrator are not two. In our lives, as children, teenagers, as young adults or adults, we will experience some sorts of trauma, some sorts of suffering. I had gone through a lot of that. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. And that hurt without me even being conscious of it. It affected the way I approached relationships, the way I viewed myself and the world. And always I thought of the perpetrator was outside of me. My uncle, my mother, a society that was full of discrimination towards children that are biracial, like myself and my brother. We are products of the Vietnam War. Our fathers were American soldiers in the Vietnam War. But as I practiced stopping and deep looking, I realized that I had become the perpetrator of that suffering. The abuse had taken place one time or several times within a period of time of my life. But since then, I have continued to carry it on through my thoughts, negative thinking, negative speech, negative bodily actions. I have perpetuated those sorts of suffering in my life. And I have caused those I loved a lot of suffering. My partner, the one who passed away, he had to cry because of me. He cared a lot about me. He wanted to be there for me. But in those moments that I was in pain, that I was depressed, I would push him away. I would say, "You don't understand. You don't know my pain." And it made him very sad and helpless and hopeless. So when we practice true love, we learn to come back, to look at ourselves, and to embrace that wounded child, and also to embrace that perpetrator right inside of us, and to say, "I am sorry. I am sorry that I have hurt myself all these years. Through my actions, through my speech, through my thoughts, I have hurt myself and I have caused a lot of suffering to others. I am sorry." We say thank you and we say sorry a lot, right? But they're just for politeness. But deep inside, when we learn to thank ourselves for the efforts we've made, to thank ourselves for everything that we still have, that we still are, and we say sorry to ourselves for our own unskillfulness, that's true love. That's true healing. You see? And through the trauma, we have developed different coping mechanisms. Some of us, we always fight back. We fought back then, and we are still fighting today. Or we learn to run away to escape the situation. Now we're still escaping. Anything good that happens to us, we're just like, "I'm not good enough. That's not for me." So we'll sabotage ourselves. We'll walk away before, so that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, I'm a failure, so I'm gonna walk away before I fail. In school, in relationship, in life. That's what we do. Or we freeze from within. We walk and eat and talk and laugh, but really we are frozen inside. Those are the different coping mechanisms, or it can be mixed. Sometimes you fight in some situations, in other situations you just freeze. And that happens. So we need to sit quietly, to make time in our daily life, to put aside that iPhone. Okay. I brought this clock with me. I use this for my time, Radio Shack. It's a digital clock. It has thermometer and it has a calendar. I live in the US since 1985. That's 33 years, right? So this is very backward, you think. Yeah? So I choose this over the iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. It's a quiet act of rebellion. You don't have to scream. You don't have to protest, right? You just have quiet act of rebellion. One time, Thầy asked me, I hadn't seen him for 2 years, I think, and I went to Thay's hermitage in Blue Cliff Monastery in New York. And when I saw Thay, I just knelt down and I joined my palms. And Thay asked me right away, "Are we rebels, my child?" And the first thought that went through my mind was the movie Rebel Without a Cause. Maybe you're too young to know that movie. By James Dean. Rebel Without a Cause. So when he asked me, "Are we rebels, my child?" I said, "Yes, Thầy, we are rebels with a cause." And that's what we are. We learn to be rebels, but not to picket, not to protest, not to be against things that are outside of us, but we learn to be rebels against our own habits. Okay? That is the most courageous act of rebellion. Eh? The habit of running away, the habit of fighting all the time, of being frozen from within. Be a rebel against that. Okay? Recognize it as it is. Breathe and smile to it. The moment you get out your iPhone, you just look at it, you start to, your 2 fingers start to move on their own. Right? I mean, literally. We're not even aware of it. We're talking to somebody, and then the next moment, you're like seeing that person is not looking at you, is not hearing you anymore, or you're not hearing anybody anymore. You're lost. Be a rebel in that moment. Smile, breathe, put it down. Recognize that moment. Maybe I'm trying to escape something uncomfortable. Maybe I don't want to face something right now. Breathe and smile with that awareness. That is true power. That is true love. Adolescence goes through the teenage years, way into our 20s, our mid-20s. Our brain continues to mold and shape itself. The neurons, the neural pathways that are not being used, they will be pruned, they'll be trimmed off. Yeah. So if we are always using only a particular part of our brain, and I see it being a disease in our society nowadays, addiction to electronics. Okay? We have that they call internet addiction disorder or I disorder. It's real. Say quietly to ourselves, be a rebel, and say, I have an I disorder. If you feel your hands are moving on their own, you do have an I disorder. You wake up in the morning or any time in the day, the first thought, second thought, and the third thought is about what's there on social media, what's there on your Facebook. You have an eye disorder. Just admit it. That's already freeing, right? So many of you are still adolescent. And the truth is that for the rest of our lives, our brain continues to mold and shape itself. So whatever that we rehearse, that we repeat, that will become a habit, okay? Actions, repeated actions, will become habits. The stress response, fight, to flight, to freeze, those are habits, okay? And habits will become personality. I'm like that. That's just the way I am. I stay in my room for days when I don't feel well. Or I watch movies, or I get on the phones, whatever your habits are, they become your personality. And personality will become our destiny. Do we choose it? Are we aware of the choices that we're making? We should be aware. As young people, we should be aware of the destiny that we are forming through our actions, our habits, and our personality. A few sisters, when they see me, they say, Sister Dang Nghiem or Sister D. Oh, I remember you. I already feel, oh no. Oh, I remember you crying so hard. I know. I'm serious. I cry anywhere and everywhere. In the Dharma hall, by an oak tree, on a toilet stall, in private, in public. I cry anytime, anywhere. I was infamous for crying. And my eyes were so sad. They just looked really sad. And 2 days ago, I actually saw one of my younger sisters. And her eyes reminded me of my own eyes 20-something years ago. And I just said to her, I said, make sure that you look at the beautiful scenery every day. Make sure that you look at beautiful things, peaceful things, so that your eyes can become brighter and happier. Okay. Think of loving thoughts, of positive thoughts. Many of us, the neural pathways that are entrenched in us, are rehearsed in us. They are the neural pathways for running away, for escaping, for feeling that we are not enough. I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm nothing. Many of us suffer that. However successful we are, we still feel that way. Recently, we had a retreat in Deer Park for 96 teenagers without parents. They came and camped with us, and we had a 5-day retreat. And the theme was, enough, enough, you are enough. So when I share with them, I drew this Chinese character for, this is a Chinese character for enough. It means enough, or it means ample or sufficient, okay? And I asked them, can you recognize what's this? And some of them recognize, you know what this is? It's a mouth. Of course, a mouth is attached to a head, right? What's this? A body. What's this? An arm. And what's this? 2 legs. If you got a head, you're enough. If you got a body, you're enough, right? An arm, even just an arm, you're enough. And 2 legs. Are you enough? Yes. Are you enough? Yes. Exactly. It's that simple, my dear. So next time, when you say to yourself, I'm not enough, remember what you have. And you smile, and you breathe, and you say quietly to yourself, I am enough. I have more than enough. And it will give you peace. It will give you joy, my dear. Joy as another element of true love. Of all the tantalizing, sparkly, flashy things we have, those things don't make us feel enough. They make us feel thirsty and wanting for more. But the simple things that we have already, one day you're gonna wish to have those teeth that you have right now. Trust me. One day you're gonna wish to be able to walk and dance and jump like you are able to do today. To have the heart that is in good condition that you have today. And even a millionaire, a billionaire will only wish the youth, the beauty, the handsomeness, the brightness that you have today. And yet you're throwing all that away to just stay in the dark, to get sucked in with the drama. You know, dramas are traumas. The dramas that we create in our own way of thinking, own way of speaking, in our own way of behaving. We bring traumas to our lives, and then we wonder why our destiny is so bleak. So remember that you are enough. And you walk out into the sunshine. I see you having all the tents around, see you lying on the grass, sitting by the pond. It's wonderful, my dear. Remember how simple it is here. Remember that our brothers and sisters are choosing this. We are just like you. Not at all different from you. But we have chosen a simple life. To be happy with the simple things, so that we can practice stopping and deep looking, so that we can cultivate healing in our daily life. And you too, you can also do that in your daily life, so that you can touch joy, and so that you learn to be your own friend, which is another element of true love. Friendship, maitri. And I also often share with the young people about being a friend to ourselves, being a soulmate to ourselves. Okay? I love the Chinese characters because they carry a lot of wisdom. In Chinese, the characters for soulmate is this. Tri is Vietnamese, Kỷ, soulmate. Tri means to remember, to know, to master, take care of, to master. And kỹ, what do you think kỹ means? Oneself, okay? And yet, most of us spend our life looking for a soulmate outside of us. And even when we have found one who loves us, who's there for us, we will push that person away. We will walk all over that person. As long as we are not our own friend, we are not our own soulmate, we cannot accept love from anybody. Even we crave it, we thirst for it, we cannot accept it until we learn to remember ourselves through our breath, through our steps, through our body, through being aware of our feelings, the journey we have gone through life. We learn to know that. We learn to take good care of that. That is being a true soulmate. That is true love. And somebody drew this picture for me. Well, actually, she heard the talk about soulmate, so she drew this. A snake wrapping its tail around itself and said, "Be your own soulmate." Isn't that wonderful? Yes. So, be a snake wrapping around yourself. Not only your great talents, but also your shortcomings. Not only your happiness, but also your sadness, your pain, your misfortune. Wrap around it. Breathe with it, smile with it. Say, "I'm here for you. Help me to take better care of you. Help me to love you." Talk to your child. Your inner child is always there. I told the teenagers, adults, they spend a lot of time trying to come back to their inner child, to heal their inner child. An 8-year-old wounded child or a 13-year-old wounded child. You are 13 right now. Live fully. Know that inner child as it's happening. Know yourself as you are being 18, 20s, in your 20s, in your 30s. That's your inner child right here and right now. Live fully and deeply. Be open and honest with yourself. Be your own soulmate. So you don't have to do that kind of work when you're in your 40s and 50s. You see? Experience it right now. And whatever we experience right now, it will become a past. And the last 22 years being a nun, I have built a beautiful past for myself. So that when I look back at my life now, I don't just only recall the abuse and the drama and trauma. I recall many, many beautiful memories with our beloved teacher, with my beloved brothers and sisters and friends. So many beautiful memories that I've had because I have chosen this life of practice. See? Okay, let us enjoy a sound of the bell together. every practice that we learn in our tradition, that is to learn, that is to get to know ourselves. Mindful breathing, mindful walking, mindful eating, deep relaxation, all of that is to help us to befriend our body. Because the body is something that we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can touch, we can perceive. And because we get to know our body, we'll be able to know our mind, our thoughts and feelings, which are more abstract, more elusive, and yet they manifest all over our body. You see? So, without being aware of our body, we cannot be aware of our mind. And without being aware of our mind, we cannot really take care of ourselves. We cannot take care of our perceptions as victims, as perpetrators. You know, we cannot really know when we are truly in love, or we are just craving, we're just looking for distraction. See? There's another character that I'd like to introduce to you. That is the character for perception. So the upper character, this is a tree, and that's the eye. A tree and eye, and that stands for sign. By itself like this, that's sign. Like your eyes look at a tree. A sign, an appearance. But a perception has a character, again, heart, mind, at the bottom. So the eyes look at the tree, but it is the mind who see, that will see. Oh, that tree. That tree reminds me of a time I sat there with somebody I loved. What a wonderful tree. Yeah? Or the eyes will look at the tree, and it's the mind that thinks, that tree has a lot of bugs. The bugs are gonna bite me. Stay away from that tree. You see? So, whatever that is out there, that person, oh, wow, I love that person. I cannot live without that person. And then a year later, I cannot even live with that person being around me, right? I hate that person. That person causes me so much suffering. It's still the same person, but it's the state of mind that is different. And so the reality will become different. See? And that is why on the Buddhist path, we learn to take care of our mind. To take care of the mind so that our perception is not distorted. you, Sam. So through the practice of stopping and deep looking in our daily life, we learn to quiet our mind. We learn to clear our mind, help our mind to become spacious, so that the perception that we have comes to as close to the reality as possible. You see, through that, again, we will see interbeing in every aspect of our daily life. We will see the nature of interbeing. And because of that, we experience healing. A lot of suffering takes place not only because of what happened to us, but because of our perception towards what happened. One other memory that I have of my time in Plum Village. One time I was doing sitting meditation with our sisters in the new hamlet, and the walls there are made of stones. And I had my eyes open and I look at that stone wall, and I realized that in me there are walls like that have been built over the years. And it just felt so hopeless, so despairing. And I just continued to follow my breath, and tears were just streaming down. And an insight came to me. I don't have to break down that whole wall. If I can just remove one block of stone, I can already see the other side. And then I breathed and I sat there for a little while more. And another insight came. Once you remove one block of stone, it will be easier to remove the adjacent stones. And then another insight came. I don't have to remove every single block of stone. At some point, the foundation will collapse on itself. That foundation is the foundation of our wrong perceptions about ourselves, about others, about what happens to us, about life. So when we learn to clarify, to see deeply the tree for a tree and not the tree for drama through the lens of the past, then in our daily life we will see, we will avoid a lot of wrong perceptions and those dramas and traumas naturally. It happens naturally like that. And that moment was so liberating for me. It has been the foundation of my practice to take care of my perceptions, of my mind, so that I can be happier, I can be more stable, so that I can go forward in life instead of always being stuck in the past. You see? And in that way, I have also learned to respect my own life. So many years of my life since I was a child, I harbored suicidal thoughts. So much that it became a habit that when I grew up as an adult, when I had difficulties in relationships, the first thing I thought was to check out. to take my life. Even though a lot of that time I didn't want to die. And yet it came always as a default. Always that thought was there. And it became, the neural pathway became a freeway for me to resort to fleeing. So we learn to respect our life, our body, to take good care of ourselves. Our teacher said, reverence is the nature of my love. Reverence, my dear. Have reverence for your body so that you can also have reverence for another person's body, so that you do not touch carelessly, so that you do not cause harm to others, thus to yourself. When we have reverence for our body and mind, we regain that trust as a factor of love that our teacher added, trust and confidence in ourselves. Whatever happened in our childhood, in our life, caused us to distrust, to mistrust others. But through the practice, I've learned that it is not just others who are not safe to me. I have not been safe to myself. I have not protected myself. I have put myself in numerous dangerous situations because my mind was not clear, because my mind was clouded. So we learn to be safe, to be safer to ourselves, to take better care of ourselves, to regain that trust and confidence that we can be our own soulmates. We can be there for ourselves, to love ourselves in the deepest sense of the word. We have that confidence. And it is a great power to be able to have true love that you can taste, touch, experience in your daily life through your own mindful thinking, mindful speaking, mindful acting. You cultivate, generate it, and you experience it. It's not a dream. It's not something that we seek endlessly. The more we seek, the more faith we lose in true love. After a while, it just becomes a game. To pursue one relationship after another, you get the high, and then you go through such lows again and again and again and again. And one cannot ever be truly happy if one doesn't believe that there's such thing as true love. You see? But true love is there. True love is in us, in every cell of our body, in everything around us. There is true love. Only if we just learn to stop and to look deep into those conditions. See? So I've heard young people nowadays practice polyamory. Is that true? Polyamorous relationships. Yeah? You have multiple partners and you think that's love? This is polyamory. This is true love, okay? For oneself, for others, for the people that you make the promise to love, and also for people that you do not even know their faces and names. You still love, you still want to protect, You still want to wish the best for them. Just like our teacher. He's not here physically with us, but you know, he saw you were coming. He prepared this place for you to come. Our brothers and sisters, we live in these monasteries. We practice day and night, day after day, year after year, so that we can cultivate true love in ourselves. So that you can come and see the way out. So that you can also learn to love yourself. That is truly polyamory. Daten. Yeah? You love a lot. But you have the insight of interbeing in your true love. You bring healing to yourself and to the world. You learn to be a friend, a soulmate to yourself, thus to others. You touch simple joy, and you don't have to escape anymore. You have respect and reverence for your own life. You are safe to yourself and to others. And you have all the trust and confidence that you are doing that, and that you can help others to do that. And so it makes your life more meaningful, because you know it's real. It's not just a dream. It's not just a shadow or something to chase after. Let us sit up beautifully, my dear ones. Do make time in your daily life to sit quietly with yourself, to listen to your body, to your breathing, to your inner child crying, trying to get you to listen to her, to him, to them. Make time to walk slowly in your daily life, from your car to your school to your office. Make time to eat in silence. Put aside your electronics. That's not your soulmate. It can help you get some information, but don't be a slave to it. Don't make it a habit. And if you already have an addiction, go through the rehabilitation. Use mindful breathing and mindful walking to transform that habit, okay? For your own sake, but also for your children's sake. It's very lonesome to sit with somebody and that person is not looking at you. That person is looking at the screen constantly. So don't do that to yourself and to others, to your partners, to your children, to others. So these are 6 concrete elements of true love. And I really hope, I sincerely hope, that you will remember them and practice them, okay? And we are here in France. We are there in the US. We have centers in Germany, in Vietnam, in Hong Kong. There are many, many brothers and sisters who are young like you, and we are practicing. So You are never alone. Just remember that and come back to the path right where you are. Bless you, my dear ones.
Please feel free to unfold and massage your legs.